Sing this before. So is that? Sometimes.
Sometimes they will.
Jaya
Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 2, texts 54 and 55. Read the book. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, yeah.
You have only the French.
No, he's getting it.
Does anyone have the phone? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone? Okay. Yadyapi tinera maya la iya vyavahara Yadyapi tinera maya la iya vyavahara Tatapi tatspashanai sabe maya para Tatapi tatspashanai sabe maya para Somebody else?
Yadyapi tinera maya la iya vyavahara Tatapi tatspashanahi sabe maya para
Tatapi tatspashanai sabe maya para
Yadyapi tinera maya laya vyavahara Tathapi tatasparshanahi shabe maya para
Yadyapi tinera maya laya vyavahara Tatapi tatsparshanai sabe maya para
Any ladies?
Yadyapi tinera maya laya vyavahara
Yadyapi tinera maya laya
Tatapi tasparshanahi
Madhya Lila.
sabe
It's Adi Lila. Very good. Anyone else? You brought me the wrong book, so we got to wait for a minute. Okay, word for word. Yadyapi, although, Tinera, of these three, Maya, the material energy, La iya, taking, Vyavahara, the dealings, Tatapi, still, Tat, of that, Sparsha, anyone know what that means? Touch. Nahi, there is not. Sabhe, all of them. Maya, para, beyond the material energy. Translation: although these three features of the Lord deal directly with the material energy, none of them are touched by it. They are all beyond illusion. Please repeat. Although these three features of the Lord deal directly with the material energy, none of them are touched by it. They are all beyond illusion. How'd you get the next verse?
You just swipe quick.
Swipe
across.
This is, I guess this is the right one. Okay. get the actual Sanskrit up. No. It'd be good if I had the book. Where's the book?
He's getting it.
It's coming?
Just now coming.
Okay, well, actually I've got the Sanskrit now. Okay. You don't have this, so I'll just read it myself. Virad hiranyagarbhascha karanam chaitya budhyaya ishasya tatribirhinam turyam tatpachakshate. Translation. In the material world, the Lord is designated as Virat, Hiranyagarbha and Karana. But beyond these three designations, the Lord is ultimately in the fourth dimension. The commentary here by Srila Prabhupada. Virat, the phenomenal manifestation of the Supreme Whole, Hiranyagarbha, the numinous soul of everything, and Karana, the causal nature, are all but designations of the Purushas which are responsible for material creation. The transcendental position surpasses these designations and is therefore called the position of the fourth dimension. This is a quotation from Sridhar Swami's commentary on the 11th canto, 15th chapter, verse 16 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, the verse again. In the material world, the Lord is designated as Virat, Hiranyagarbha and Karana. But beyond these three designations, the Lord is ultimately in the fourth dimension. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jnanatirmandasya Gyananjanan Shalakaya Chakshuramritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakara Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna. So this, I didn't look at the verse at all. Got up a bit late today, quite tired. We had a very nice Harinam yesterday. So this is a little bit technical. I'm not good at technical things. But it refers to the material creation. So the material creation is only 1/4 of the whole creation, and the material world alone is immeasurable. In fact, when Lord Chaitanya was teaching Sanatana Goswami, he explained how Lord Brahma, he is the creator of everything in this universe. So Brahma is just, in his own words, he's just like a little insignificant insect. In his own words, he said that. Because he is only put into knowledge, he's only given knowledge by dint of his austerities. Otherwise he had no knowledge. So when he was born from the lotus stem of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he was completely bewildered and in darkness. He didn't know what to do. So then he heard the word tapa, which means austerity. So he performed austerities for a long time. How long was it? 100 years. I think it was 100 years. And by dint of his austerities, he was given the power to create. So this is all inconceivable. A materialist would never really, don't worry about it, it's too late. A materialistic person would never understand these things because they are simply accustomed to only believing in what they see and what they hear from other materialistic people. So a devotee is in a different category because a devotee is aware of how insignificant they are. So even Brahma, who is the greatest human being, although he's got 4 heads, still he's completely in darkness and he doesn't know what's going on. And when one time he went to see Lord Narayan. So when he went to see Lord Narayan, he went to the doorkeeper and said, "Please tell Lord Narayan that I'm here." Lord Narayan, he replied through his doorkeeper, he said, "Well, which Lord Narayan? Which Lord Brahma, excuse me, which Lord Brahma are you?" So then he was given permission to enter into the gates of Vaikuntha, and there he saw that there were many Lord Brahmas, and he was the only one with 4 heads. The others had 8 heads, 16 heads, 100 heads, millions of heads. This is all inconceivable. How can somebody have millions of heads? But at the same time, we accept the Shastra, we accept the scriptures to be the absolute truth. So some or other things are going on which are beyond our conception. So this material creation, even this material creation, how can we understand how every year the seasons are coming on time? We know that it's going to get cold in December, it's going to get warmer in March, April, May, whatever. It's going on for millions of years without cessation. So to think that there's no control behind anything, this is ignorant. So Brahma, he realized how foolish he was when he saw these other Lord Brahmas with all their many, many heads. And because he, later on, because he also slips into illusion sometimes, he sometimes forgets how insignificant he is. So later on he tried to trick Krishna by stealing the cows and the cowherd boys. And after that, when Krishna completely befooled him by producing replicas of the original cows and the cowherd boys and the calves, then he felt very embarrassed. When you get embarrassed, it's very humbling. If you do something in front of everybody and you make a mistake and everybody sees you make a mistake, it's very humbling. And it can be very painful. Especially if you're very puffed up. So he composed this verse, Taktena kampam sushamikshamana bunjanareva makritam vipakam Hridvag vapabir vidam namas how's it go? Hridvag vapabir vidam Jivetaya multipadesa dayabhag. Yes. So he said that because he was suffering, because he was so embarrassed, he said one who goes on suffering the reactions of their past misdeeds, but at the same time offers obeisances from the core of their heart without any resentment, then they are certainly eligible to attain the kingdom of God, just as is the rightful claim of the son to inherit the wealth of the father. So this verse is a very important verse, and because ultimately in this world, we can hear about the creation and how it all came about. It is very wonderful how Mahavishnu is an expansion of Sankarshan, and then the 3 Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Kshirodakshay Vishnu. So Mahavishnu, he's creating all the universes out of his body and from his breathing, unlimited universes. And this is a very small universe. And then in each and every universe there's Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and he lies down in his own sweat, which is very beautiful. It's not like ours. And he, from his navel, the lotus stem sprouts in which Lord Brahma is sitting. And then Kshirodakshai Vishnu, he is in the ocean of milk, Shira, and he is pervading the whole universe in his form as a supersoul. So how this is all happening is obviously beyond our conception, but still we accept it because it's in the Vedas. And a human being trying to understand the intricacies of God and this creation and how everything works and what life is like in the spiritual world, this is all so beyond us that it's like an ant trying to understand how a computer works. Obviously that's not possible. So we can't understand these things. All we know is that, we're in this material creation, and the material creation is specifically designed to cause suffering. Although you can be happy here. If you know how to live properly in the material world, you can be happy if you're a devotee. But nobody else knows this secret. So therefore, devotees, their duty is to try and enlighten others. And of course, living close to nature is one of the most important activities, and the only way actually to be completely satisfied in this world is to live close to nature. And nature is very well designed. So, Srila Prabhupada wanted these farm communities because the modern society is simply destroying the planet. We're destroying the planet and nobody's happy. So, Srila Prabhupada acquired New Mayapur, or it was acquired on his behalf, to actually show people a better way of life. So even Prabhupada's last trip outside of India before he passed away was actually to go to Gita Nagari, which is a farm community in America. And Prabhupada had a lot of hopes for that place. It's still not really vibrant and so many people there, but still good things take a long time. Like Prabhupada gave the example of the macadamia nuts. How many of you have had macadamia nuts? Oh, a lot of you. Okay. So they're the best nuts. But they take a long time to grow. So, good things take a long time. And ISKCON might be like that. ISKCON, we see here there's not many devotees, because in this world, people come to forget about Krishna. So Prabhupada gave the example of if you're a diamond dealer, you don't get a lot of customers. So similarly, because we're propagating this very sophisticated, wonderful philosophy, most people, they're not intelligent enough to understand it. So you have to understand that you are the most intelligent people, and that you're the most fortunate people, because you have an opportunity to actually transcend the material world and go back to the spiritual world. And Srila Prabhupada saw that even though people become devotees, many times it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to get bewildered because it's a long process. It's a gradual process. You have to be very patient. You're not going to suddenly achieve perfection after 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. I've been around for 50 years and I'm definitely not perfect. But the process works, and we have to have faith in the process. And if we actually practice Krishna consciousness properly, we will experience pleasure which is far superior than any material pleasure. And that will sustain us. That's why, like yesterday when we went on Harinam, it's a pity everyone didn't come, because it was very wonderful. People loved it, we loved it, everybody was happy. So therefore Prabhupada wanted everyone to go on the Harinam. He wanted everyone to go out on books, or of course if you have to, worship the deities or cook something, okay. But ultimately, to remain in Krishna consciousness is quite a challenge. And it requires a lot of determination and a lot of patience. So you have to realize that, unless you practice very nicely, you will not get the desired result. So you have to practice very seriously and avoid the 10 offenses, of course. But what Prabhupada found was that many devotees, because they're not really Brahminically inclined, they would give up Krishna consciousness. And they would, they would kind of be floundering. Do you know what floundering means? Anyone else? Floundering. When you're swimming and you're drowning, you're going down. So material life can be like that. Even for a devotee who gives up devotional service, sometimes it can be a struggle. Because you have to get a lot of money in the modern world. Everything's very expensive, which means you have to get a job. Or you have to figure out a way to make money. It's all a hassle. But, when you have to have a job, and you also are trying to go to Mangalarti, and then in the middle of the day you're too tired because you got up too early, it's not easy. So Srila Prabhupada, his idea was to establish farm communities so that people could live very simply and they wouldn't have to go to work. Like you see in London, everyone's on the underground train, the subway. In New York, they all commute to work 1 hour each way, crammed in this horrible underground tunnel. So this is material life in the modern age, but it's not meant to be like that. And previously, as I was saying the other day, in every village there was a church. Because people, they were more dependent on nature because they had to have enough rain and enough sun to grow their food. Otherwise they couldn't eat. So they were very dependent on God. And then, with the Industrial Revolution, people became bewildered because now we have washing machines, the food's all imported from California or wherever it is. And so, but it all costs money. And people struggle because you have to pay your train ticket, or you have to have a car, then you have to have insurance, you have to pay for the gasoline. It's very expensive. So Prabhupada's idea was to establish these farm communities, which is not easy because we're not accustomed to working hard. That's the problem. But see, at the same time, we want to have farm communities, but we also want to propagate the knowledge, so we have to go to the cities and meet people and distribute the books. So we have a lot of things that we need to do to bring about a revolution in society. But at the same time, we do want to establish an ideal community so that people can see, this is how you're supposed to live. We don't want to support commercial dairies. We know how the animals are treated in the commercial dairies. We want to protect the cows. Cows are very important in human society. Krishna loves cows. And, you can tell the mentality of the people by how well the cows are treated. That each cow is different. I have 17 cows. Every one of them has a very unique personality. Some of them are friendlier than others. Some of them are a little difficult. but they're all cows, so we have to respect them and protect them and everything else. So this material creation is a very difficult place to live, because it's a place where there are many different types of miseries, and nobody wants to suffer. So we want to make sure that we get the best opportunity to go back to Godhead. We don't want to keep coming back to the material world, because in the material world people have to suffer their karma. And sometimes devotees also get karma, but it's a different type of karma. It's like a reminder that maybe in your last life you did something really bad, and now you're getting a reminder of what you did. It's not like when you become a devotee, everything becomes absolutely perfect right away. Sometimes we go through different things. And we have to remember that prayer by Lord Brahma, that we know that Krishna is our friend. Therefore, it's important to read the books to understand what kind of person Krishna is. Krishna is the best friend. And we can easily see that by the way he actually interacts with his devotees. Like with, what's her name? Can't remember her name. Kubja. You know about Kubja? Some of you. Oh, say, yeah, you must do. Anyway, so Kubja, she was crippled. And when Krishna entered into Mathura from Vrindavan, she offered him some sandalwood paste.
Oh, yes,
You know that one? Okay, that's good. I thought you would. So she put the sandalwood paste on Krishna's forehead, and Krishna saw that she was crippled, so he made her very beautiful. He picked her up by the shoulders and straightened her out, and she became very beautiful. But then she wanted to actually have a relationship with Krishna, a sort of conjugal relationship. So Krishna fulfilled her desires. So you study Krishna's life. Everything he did was for the benefit of others. So he killed many demons. Well, for one thing, everyone on the battlefield went back to Godhead because they saw Krishna. Even demons that tried to kill him, he liberated them. So we have to know what kind of a person Krishna is in order to be attracted to Krishna. But Krishna is the most wonderful person. And his pastimes, his relationships with his devotees in the spiritual world are they're very attractive. They're very enchanting. And we're trying to go back to the spiritual world. So we have to hear about Krishna. That's why Srila Prabhupada wrote so many books. 70 books, sitting up all night, writing books, because he wanted us to know who Krishna is, who Radharani is, who Lalita is, who Vishaka is, who all the residents of Vrindavan, and then to know about Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya was also a combination of Radha and Krishna. So we have to try to take advantage of all this knowledge, because this knowledge is, we see through the eyes of the scriptures. That's called Shastra Chakshus. Because some people, like there's one illiterate devotee, you've probably heard about him, he couldn't read or write. But he was reading the Bhagavad Gita when Lord Chaitanya was present, and Lord Chaitanya was on his tour of South India. He saw this devotee reading the Bhagavad Gita, and he knew that he was illiterate, he couldn't read. So how was he reading? So Lord Chaitanya said, this is funny, you can't read, but you you're crying, and somehow or other, you're being affected by the message of the Bhagavad Gita. So this illiterate person said, well, actually, I can't read, but when I see the picture of Krishna driving Arjuna on the chariot, my heart melts and I become very emotional. So Lord Chaitanya spent 3 months with that person. He embraced him and he spent 3 months with him. But we don't have that excuse because we're not illiterate. Any of you illiterate? You can all read? Nobody's illiterate. So therefore we have to take advantage of the books. But it's said that even if someone doesn't take advantage of the books, it says, I can't remember the Sanskrit, a very nice verse, it says that one who is on the path of Krishna consciousness, even if he's blindfolded, even if he cannot see because he's got something over his eyes, he will never trip or fall or stumble. So if you're on the path of Krishna consciousness, you're guaranteed to reach the destination. The main thing is to stay on the path. Stay on the path is not so difficult if you don't commit offenses. So the main problem is that devotees, they commit offenses. Especially the biggest offense is to criticize devotees who've dedicated their life for the propagation of the holy name of the Lord. When you blaspheme preachers or you criticize preachers, then you can expect that it'll be very hard to chant Hare Krishna. You'll lose your taste. So therefore, we have to be very respectful to anybody who's a devotee, because anyone who becomes a devotee, even if we think they look strange or they're a little bit eccentric, still, they're very rare people. And, they're the best of human beings, because it says, Aho bhata svapachato gariyanya jiva gari vatate namatavyam te pustas tapaste juhu shashna arya. Means basically that one who chants the holy name of the Lord is considered to be worshipable, even if he's born in a family of dog eaters. Because people don't usually eat dogs in France, they eat snails. Escargot. Better than eating cows, they eat them too, but anyway. So, so anybody who chants the holy name is considered to be worshipable, because they have already performed many austerities in their previous life, they've already bathed in all the holy places, they performed many fire sacrifices, so they're worshipable. So we have to be very careful that not only do we want to establish a self-sufficient community where we can live simply and be healthy. See, this ultimately is the way human beings are supposed to live. You're supposed to live in a community with your family and your grandparents and your children and then your extended family. So really we need thousands of hectares of land to do this. It's a long-term project. Maybe in 200 years, maybe we'll get it right. It's long-term because people don't like to work much. But it's so, nature is so wonderful. Like I have a farm, and on my farm, we get many different types of aromatic flowers. The flowers smell very beautiful. Of course, you live in a cooler climate. I don't know what flowers you can grow here, but at least you have some nice roses out there. Roses have a beautiful aroma. But as far as fruit, I don't know what fruit you can grow. I've seen a lot of fig trees. The figs don't look very ripe though. Do they ever get ripe? The figs?
Yeah. They say green too.
Things
Because right.
Things starting now.
Starting to get ripe?
Yeah, they will be ripe.
I did steal a couple, but they weren't there. Anyway, most of them are really green. But anyway, so you can grow so many different fruits and vegetables and flowers. But at the same time, we want to avoid committing offenses, and we want to become knowledgeable. We want to actually become very learned, because the more knowledge we have about Krishna consciousness, the more we'll be convinced that this is the absolute truth. This is the absolute truth, and this is the king of knowledge, and this is real religion. This is Sanatana Dharma. It's eternal religion. There are other religions which are called Upadharma. They're kind of a disturbance in society. But this is it, and this is the perfection of life, and we can actually go back to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada said he came to teach us how to dance with Krishna. So you can enter the rasa dance if you become qualified, or you can be cowherd boy, cowherd girl. But the cowherd girls, they also love Krishna, and this is actually a great opportunity. So we want to be very serious and practice very nicely, so that we don't miss this opportunity, so that we actually achieve perfection, maybe not in this life, maybe the next life, but sooner or later to achieve perfection. So there's one very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavat Guru Vikramanga Sake. It means that how can the fire of material life continue to burn the hearts of those who've taken shelter of Krishna's lotus feet? Because the nails on the toes of Krishna's lotus feet are like brilliant gems that they're like the cooling rays of the moon that dissipate or cool down the scorching heat of the fire of material existence. So this material existence is like a scorching fire. It's very difficult. You'll have good karma, you're lucky. Many people in this world are suffering so much bad karma. They're in wars, or they're starving, or they're diseased, or so many things. But we're all very lucky. And we have to understand that, Krishna, he's in our hearts and he's watching us, and he wants to see, if we're thinking the right thing. So you always have to think the right thing and do the right thing, because Krishna knows exactly what you're thinking. And it's always a test, because the mind is so powerful that we can easily follow the mind and be misled by the crazy mind. So therefore it says, Bandhura manastasya yena majita, that for one who controls the mind is the best of friends, but for one who fails to do so, the mind is the greatest enemy. So control the mind. The only way to do that is to chant your 16 rounds a day without fail. Prabhupada said this is the most important instruction of the Guru, to chant 16 rounds, because the holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and you can't really chant proper rounds while you listen to class. So I hate to say. So we should try to get up early in the morning and chant our japa, and hear very attentively the holy name. Of course, if you're very busy, if you're a temple president or a temple president's wife or something, you might have to chant your rounds during class, but generally there's not another excuse. So anyway, I'll finish here. If you have any questions, yes.
Hare Krishna. So you just say that to install nice farm communities,
Yeah.
it needs maybe 200 years.
I'm just guessing. I mean that's just a wild guess. I don't know. I'm just I don't know what the future holds.
You mentioned also that the Upadharma, they are actually making not very good for the society. But some Upadharma like Mormons or Amish, they can build a barn in 1 week, a huge barn in 1 week.
Yeah.
So why we, as a Krishna devotee, we need 200 years to make farm?
Because people are very westernized, they're not used to working hard. Amish people, they're brought up to work hard, you know. They don't have electricity. I can't say it's going to take 200 years. Maybe there'll be an atomic war and everyone's going to come to the farm and people will be willing to work. And that's just a wild guess. But Amish people, they're different. Mormons, they're not self-sufficient. Mormons are like business people. And they don't have a good philosophy. They're nice people, and at least they admit, you know, they shouldn't eat a lot of meat, but they eat meat. The Amish people who eat meat, they're not saints, believe me. They're not. But at least they strongly believe in family values. They don't get divorced very much. And they do grow their own food, and they do they don't use, you know, gas-powered machines like tractors and cars. All their work is done with horses. They don't use oxen. They eat the cows. So we don't want to be like them, but we can learn something from them, you know. But at the same time, you know, they have their holiday resort in Florida. Yeah. And they go to Florida every summer. They have a special area for Amish people.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. They like Florida. They like the beaches. But, yeah, you can like the beaches. I'm sure they have some nice beaches in the south of France. But at the same time, you know, none of them are ideal. Because they don't protect cows and they don't train their children to be devotees. They don't talk about Krishna. They have no idea who God is. So hopefully it won't take 200 years. Maybe it'll take, 50 years. Can't see it happening in 20 years. You never know. At least you got plenty of figs to eat. If you can you live off figs? You got plenty of figs. Yeah.
So is Krishna consciousness the only movement who try to spread Sanatana Dharma? There is no.
What do you mean by Krishna consciousness? You got the Gaudiya Math. They're trying in their own way, but they're a little fragmented. You know what fragmented means? They're a little bit broken up. Because they didn't really stick together under one banner. You know, for all the faults of ISKCON, there was a poem written by one famous poet. He said, "Oh England, with all your faults, still I love you." Right? Because England has a lot of faults. They've ripped everybody off. So we could say, ISKCON, with all your faults, I still love you. Because Prabhupada made you. And Prabhupada was the first one to make a formal Gaudiya Vaishnav, legally registered society with particular boundaries and standards of behavior and everything else. So even if the GBC we might not find them inspiring as individuals, but still we have to respect the fact that, Prabhupada created ISKCON to work under the GBC. And personally, I've always tried to follow that because I thought it was one of Prabhupada's most repeated instructions to work together under the GBC, to stay within ISKCON. So, with all due respect to other groups who may be devotees, but we see that, they don't have, even in London, they don't have a temple. It's one of the most important cities with no temple. New York, hardly a temple. So, but they might be preaching. I have a friend who's in the Gaudiya Math. He's a good friend of mine. he used to be the top distributor in England. He has a African body, but he was educated in New York, and he was distributing books in England. He was the best book distributor England had for many years. But he joined the Gaudiya Math, and now he's in the country called Benin. Benin? Benin is a French-speaking country next to Nigeria. It's a small country. But he sent me the videos because I'm still friendly with him. I don't discriminate against him or anything. I like him. He's a nice person. But he, he showed me all these videos of all these Benin people chanting Hare Krishna. They loved it. So he's doing his preaching there. But he does have Prabhupada on the altar. I don't know. Anyway.
He does, or he doesn't.
Huh?
He does.
He's got Prabhupada on the altar, yeah. Anyway. Anything else? Yeah.
So whenever this kind of topic comes up, when we talk about spiritual world and material world,
Right.
we all understand that it's beyond our conception. Now, we all understand that it's beyond our conception, our understanding. However, when it comes to kind of trying to convince somebody, like you said, right? Like there is somebody who comes to the temple, but they're not a believer. That happened to me once when someone came to the temple. They asked, "What is the onus of proof is on you to say that? How do you know that the spiritual world exists?"
Right.
Like, basically, we tell them that. I tried to kind of convince him by saying that it's given in the Vedas, it's given in the Shastras.
No, I don't say
but
that.
who has seen it? Like, what is the proof? So, I try to give the example of like a random country, Vanuatu or something. You've not been there because but he's not convinced. So I'm just trying to think when a new person comes, he's semi-interested, but he's asking this question of where is all the proof for all of these things? What is the best way to answer? That person is not an atheist. He's come to the temple, but he's not a believer.
I wouldn't know the best way to answer, but I would say that, as a limited human being, we all have our limitations, we all make mistakes, we're subject to illusion, we have imperfect senses, etc. So, we follow the kind of thinking of great personalities who they may have heard of, like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein, he practically worshipped Isaac Newton. Did you know that? Or even Oppenheimer. Einstein was working under Oppenheimer, the guy that invented the atomic bomb. And he studied Sanskrit. So Isaac Newton, he completely believed in intelligent design. He believed there was a God. And if you can accept that there is a supreme intelligence who's much greater than you are, and that the Vedas come from him, or even without mentioning the Vedas, or even that there is some supreme being who's much greater than we are, that anything is possible. So obviously, if somebody's totally determined to be an atheist, you're never going to convince them. But at the same time, if they're reasonable, they have to accept that as a human being, they can't even see in the dark. They can't see Australia. How can they see the spiritual world? So, it depends how open people are. If they're a little bit open, maybe you can convince them. But Isaac Newton, you know that story about Isaac Newton, who he made a model of the universe? You know the story? Yeah, you do. So Isaac Newton, actually Isaac Newton is considered to be the greatest scientist in the last 400 or 500 years, according to a panel of experts from Harvard and Oxford and all that, Cambridge University. So Isaac Newton, he had a friend who was an atheist. And Isaac Newton completely believed in intelligent design. He believed in God. So his friend came, and he was trying to convince him that there was some intelligent designer. So he made a model of the universe. He made a very nice model of the universe. He was pretty clever, Isaac Newton. And so when his friend came and saw the model, he said, "Wow, Isaac, that's a wonderful model. It's so well made. Who made it? They must have been really intelligent to make such a nice model." So he said, "Nobody made it. It just came into being somehow or other. Just happened somehow or other. All the bits came together." So Isaac Newton said, of course, he said, "How can nobody have made it? You fool, somebody made it, I made it. So this world is so wonderfully designed that someone must have designed it. You know, everything's working. Like, for instance, the fruit trees, they produce fruit. So all the figs, they don't get ripe on the same day, right? Some of them are very small, some of them are bigger, a few of them are reddish. Because some intelligence has designed it so that it gets ripe gradually, so that you don't have to eat it all on the same day. So it's very clever. Or even the way, you know, because this hasn't got much to do about the spiritual world, but it's, you know, even the material world, they can't even understand that. How can they understand the spiritual world? How can they understand how the food is being digested in the stomach? You know, I was reading this thing, these Christians, this Christian preacher, he's a little bit intelligent, but he's a Christ is the only way type of person. But he had this whole thing about the human body and how many miles of, I don't know what it is, but the way the body is designed, it's just so amazing. It's so, you know, like the skin, if you cut yourself, it heals itself. It's amazing how the body works. You have eyes, you know, the way the eyes work, the way you can hear. It's a miracle. So how can he understand the spiritual world where he can't even understand how his body was designed? Ask him if, you know, does he think materialistic people are clever? Are the scientists clever? Can they make a BMW that reproduces itself? No. Can they make a machine, you know, that doesn't pollute the world, that doesn't destroy the planet? No. Yeah, they've destroyed the planet. Best I can do. Anything else? Yes, Mataji?
Physics, quantum physics, the physics.
Quantum physics? Oh my God, I don't know anything about that.
They said that there is a higher intelligence. This was the conclusion.
A higher intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much. Sure. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Grace Adikarta Prabhu ki.
Jai.